So what Zero Hedge is calling a social explosion begins in Greece as massive street protests bring economy to a fresh halt. One thing that became abundantly clear after Alexis Tsipras sold out the Greek referendum no back in the summer after a weekend of mental waterboarding in Brussels was that the public's perceptions of the once revolutionary leader would never be the same. And make no mistake, that's exactly what Berlin, Brussels, and the IMF wanted. By turning the screws on the Greek banking sector and bringing the country to the brink of ruin, the Troika indicated its willingness to punish politicians who pursue anti-austerity measures, policies. On the one hand, countries have an obligation to pay back what they owe, but on the other, the subversion of the democratic process by using the purse strings to effect political change is rather disconcerting, or rather a disconcerting phenomenon, and we expect we'll see it again with regard to the socialists in Portugal. After a month of infighting with Syriza, Tsipras did manage to consolidate the party and win a snap election, but he's not the man he was, or at least not outwardly. He's obligated to still, obliged to the draconian terms of the bailout, and that means he is a shadow of his former self ideologically. As we've said before, that doesn't bode well for the societal, or for any kind of societal stability. On Thursday, we get the first shot across the social upheaval bow as the same voters who once came out in force to champion Tsipras and Syriza parties, or that party, are staging massive protests and walkouts. And from Bloomberg, they say, as Greek workers took to the streets to protest on Thursday, Alexis Tsipras was, for the first time, on the other side of the divide. Unions, a key support base for the Prime Minister's Syriza party, chanted in rallies held in Athens the same slogan Tsipras once used against opponents. Doctors and pharmacists joined port workers, civil servants, and Athens metro staff in Greece's first general strike since he took office in January, bringing the country to a standstill for 24 hours. Greece's biggest unions, ADEDI and GSEE, are holding marches accusing Tsipras of bowing to creditors and imposing measures that, quote, perpetuate the dark ages for workers. As the country's statistical agency released data showing that 1.18 million Greeks, or nearly 25% of the workforce, remained unemployed in August. The former firebrand opponent of bailouts was catapulted to power this year on a promise to end austerity, only to capitulate to creditors' demands after the freezing of aid from the euro area brought the country's financial system to the brink of collapse, forcing Tsipras to impose capital controls. Even more belt-tightening will be required before Europe's most indebted state gains access to additional emergency loans to cover its budget needs next year, and creditors agreed to ease its debt burden. The GSEE Union of Private Sector Workers says those measures will bring, quote, punitive austerity, poverty, and impoverishment to a country where a quarter of the workers are already without a job. There's risk of social explosion as pension cuts and tax hikes loom, said Sortiria Theodoropoulos, I think. For a Greek guy, I sure as hell can't pronounce their names. A senior researcher of the European Trade Union Institute in Brussels. Last summer's shock took a toll on many sectors, and it's difficult to see where growth will come from. More from The Guardian. They say schools, hospitals, banks, museums, archaeological sites, pharmacies, and public services will all be hit by the 24-hour walkout. Of course they will. Flights will also be disrupted, ferries will be stuck at ports, and news broadcasts stopped as staff walk off the job. We are expecting a huge turnout. So to give you a little taste of what we got going on over here. I mean, look at these pictures once again. Molotov cocktails, police fighting these people, them fighting back. Look at the size of this march right here, the second picture. And the third one. And again, for a Greek guy, I wasn't born in Greece. I was born in the United States. Matter of fact, my parents were born here too, so sorry about your luck. I can't speak Greek either. I know a few of the foods. But this is one country that is not by any means a third world country. This is a member of the European Union. And here they are again, 25% unemployment. And I'll scroll down because I want to show you this chart right here. Employed, unemployed, inactive. 2015, 2014, 2013. So, I mean, it's, you know, and we're looking at employed here. So you can just see the numbers not looking good over the last few years. Unemployed just, you know, is terrible. It's a lot of people. You look back from 2010 even till now, it's practically doubled the amount of people unemployed. Right here, age group. Unemployment by age group. 15 to 24-year-old. 48% practically. So, in that age group, only half of them have jobs. Now, if you're in Greece and you're a college student, right, you may have graduated at 17 or 18 years old and out of your high school. Maybe you jumped right into college, so 18, 19, 20. By 20 years old, you might possibly have your 2-year degree. 22, 23 years old, maybe 24 or 25 years old, depending on how slow or whatever you were in college. Took a little break, whatever. Right, in other words, right at the ripe age for a newly graduated college student with a massive pile of student loan debt. Only half of you are going to get a job. If you were told right now, yeah, I got to go to college, I got to save up some funds, my parents can help me go to college, and I was able to show you a chart over the last several years, and the way things are looking, it ain't getting any better, and the chart shows that, and it shows you realize you only have a 50% chance of getting a job, period. And by the way, this is only, again, 50% of these kids have jobs, but is it even the job that they went to college for? I would venture and say mostly no, that they just have some job, anything, I'll take anything. And that big fat college degree equals a big fat zero. Why on earth else, even in the United States of America, do we have, I think it's now 1.3 trillion. It just keeps going up. I think that's the number. While I'm here, why don't I just take a little quick peek? U.S. college, U.S. student loan debt 2015. USA Today. If I can quickly find this, analyst and also finds in total a staggering 1.2 trillion in debt. Now this was, by the way, April. January, February, March, April. 4 months into 2015, the number's 1.2 trillion. That's why I said, I think it's 1.3 now, the latest I heard, trillion. That's outstanding debt. That's not people that paid it off and they're included somehow in this number. This is outstanding, unpaid student loan debt. So, makes you wonder what the rates are like here in America of these newly grads. What kind of jobs are they getting? I can tell you firsthand when I used to volunteer for the sheriff's office. I'd see a lot of these guys. They'd come and they go. They last a couple years, come and go. Young men and women, but mostly men. And I'd talk to them. You know, we're out doing stuff. You know, we dealt with like accidents and road closures and things like that a lot of times. So we'd run into them where we're both working the same call. You know, traffic lights out or whatever it is. This is before I retired from that earlier this year. But the story was that, and it remains this way forever, the sheriff's office, and it's probably the same at any sheriff's office or police station. There is never enough people to do the job. They continuously need deputies to sign up because they do not have enough, period. And I'm not going to say the exact number that I think I know, just for whatever reason, but it's kind of a shocking number when I learned about it like that. Wow, you guys are down that many? Like always? Yep. Rolling over always. Yep. And what I was told by these guys and other deputies who had been there for several years and liked the job and want to stay doing it, in regards to the other younger ones, I would ask him, you know, I don't see those guys anymore. Whatever happened with them? Oh, they quit. You know, they put their notice in, they go get a job. He says, you know, what happens is they have, they get out of college, so they have a degree, but they can't get a job in that field, that industry. Just can't get it. So they've got, you know, of course they've got the student loan debt to pay back, but all it takes to get into this position, which he said at the sheriff's office, and I'm talking about Hillsborough County, they have a bit of a higher standard than some other places. They said you have to have a college degree, period. As long as you have a college degree, you can become a deputy, and that's it. But if you don't have a college degree, you can't unless you like volunteered at the, or maybe if you worked in the jail for 2 years or something, then you can potentially go in and become a deputy. You know, if you were like a detention deputy or officer, whatever they're called. So anyways, these kids are getting out of high school, go to college, get the college degree they wanted for, have a huge amount of debt to pay back, can't get the job they wanted. So they become a deputy for about 2 years. He says it was usually about 2 years. Somewhere in between there, they'd finally land the job or a different job, whatever it may be, and decide I'm out. You know, it's fun while it lasted, but this ain't what I want to do, and I've got my job, I'm leaving, I've put my notice in. So can you imagine being taught, oh, hey, you want to, oh, hey, come on in. We got the guy from so-and-so college here to talk to you students today about why it's such a good idea to go to college and get that degree. And higher pay, of course, that's all you're going to hear. Higher pay, higher pay, higher pay. Could you imagine if they came in and said, in fact, let me, I'm still on that same page. Could you imagine if they came in and said, oh, by the way, bigger pay, all this stuff, college degree. But you're going to work doing something you don't want to do for at least 2 years before you actually can land this job. The colleges would be out of business. Oh, I'm not doing that. I could be working all this time in the amount of years I've spent. And I did a story, and then I had to do it a second time, maybe a year or two later after I did it the first time. It was such a great story. I'm going to see if I know it's in my email somewhere. I just got to figure out how to find it. And I think it was called something like the college myth or something like that. And it's about, I'll just briefly tell you what it's about. You know, Joe and Steve, two college kids, their parents got $15,000 or $16,000 in a nest egg for both of them. You both can go to college if you'd like right after high school, and here's $16,000 towards that. So one of them decides, I'd rather take that $16,000, put it in a regular old investment, stock market, etc., and go working, doing something I want to do. Maybe I don't have a degree, fine, but I'm going to go find something that I can do, and he does it, and he starts working immediately. By the time the other guy gets out of college, including his big fat student loan he owes, that $16,000 or $15,000 he put into it is gone, because of course that was just a piece of the pie to pay for the college. Now he has to pay some of that back, the excess he needed to graduate and continue on schooling. But he graduates and lands a job. And in the article, it's assumed he lands the job like right away. Not, we're going to wait for 2 or 3 years before you find the right job. No, it's assumed he gets a job pretty quick. And then they said by the time those two men retired, They did the full American thing. You know, we'll work when we're young, and I retire when I'm in my late 50s or 60, whatever it was. I think it was the exact retirement age, like 62, 63 or something. And the guy that didn't go to college, that put his little nest egg of $16,000 in a stock market, just no different than what you do at work, 401k, whatever. And they said we're going to take an average rate that no one would argue with, completely normal, and they put that in the equation. And the amount of money that the so-called bozo who did not go to college had by the time he retired made the other guy look sick. Like it was just wrong. It couldn't have been any more wrong. So I couldn't believe it. I think I'm going to find that and do a video on it again. It was great. Take care.